Hello, this is Brian Jameson, and this is my reflective project for the entrepreneurship course. Just so you know in advance, I am not a video editor. There will be no magical graphics flying across the screen, nor a beautiful soundtrack underlaid to the whole thing, because I'm just not quite sure how to do that, and I apologize. However, I do have very fancy plaques that I'll be using during the course. Now, I did want to tell you that a lot of the value I derived from this course was that it really did open my eyes to all the different forms that entrepreneurship can take. I learned that there's a lot more than just opening a business when it comes to entrepreneurship, especially just surrounding an ingenious idea that somebody like Bill Gates or Steve Jobs came up with. There's a lot more to it, it's a lot more layered, and there's a lot more people that measure their success in different ways. I feel that I'll be able to use this knowledge to expand what I might do with my degree. This whole time I've been thinking it might go one very specific direction, but if I can find a way to do something entrepreneurial without the risk of starting a business, well, that's very appealing to me. As the class progressed, I began to question what I wanted in my own life. For the first time in a really long time, where am I heading? Where could I or should I be heading, and which path is right for me? Ultimately, that last question was left unanswered because I have to figure out how to reconcile what I could do versus what I should do. My family is involved in every decision I make. Now, having said that, without further ado, here is takeaway one. The difference between a standard business owner and an entrepreneur. Something like franchises or standard cookie cutter stores. I really did kind of maintain that notion that just about anything is an entrepreneurial venture if it involves opening your own business. And after I began reading in Experience 1, I really came to the conclusion that that's just not true, that there is a very large difference between an entrepreneur who's creating something new, even if it's something that existed but used in a new way, is very different than somebody just opening a McDonald's with a clear set of rules, a clear set of money, a clear set of standards that takes away a lot of the risk, but also limits you on what you can do. And that's very different in my mind than what an entrepreneur can do. I also like the idea that an entrepreneur doesn't even really have to have his own business, that it can be leading an existing company or an existing firm into a new area, something different than it's ever done before. Anything from changing the way it manages all the way to introducing a new product and capturing a new market. And as far as takeaway two, the ability to put aside common knowledge to dream big. I like the idea that these entrepreneurs take something that people don't know they want and making them want it and creating a market share out of nothing. When people are telling them they're crazy and that it's not going to work, that they did it anyways and were successful in doing so, and they did something that nobody thought was going to be really possible. Even GoPro, I liked that idea. He took an existing very old technology and created something wholly new out of it. And a lot of people probably thought, that's dumb, you're just strapping cameras to things, and he created a whole culture out of it. Now, as far as takeaway three, the blue ocean theory, revising and repackaging old ideas in new and exciting ways. I actually really found this one fascinating. I loved the idea of the hotel where it took the structure of a caste-based system, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 star, or diamonds in the world of AAA here, where they took the best of the 5 and the 4s and the 3s and the 2s and the 1s and stripped away all the stuff that wasn't needed and created something entirely new within the industry that transcended the preset boxes that other people and critics had made. And the way he was able to draw on market share from across the board, where people could go and they could see the value in it based on their lens, whether it's the fancy folks that like the artwork or the decor or the comfort or the dinners or whatever it is that they offer in the store, and all the stuff they didn't care about that was just an accepted norm of the 5 stars was never missed. Or the fact that somebody who's budget conscious can now go in and get something a little bit nicer for not a whole lot more, where they don't feel like they're truly stepping up out of their comfort zone, financially speaking. I just love that idea that you can break the mold and recreate it and do something different within a preset industry. It doesn't always have to be something brand new. And as far as takeaway 4, the deep dive, ways to utilize an entrepreneurial mindset to create something within a confined system. I really did enjoy the video about IDEO in particular, and the way that they all just sort of brainstormed and bouncing ideas off of each other, and the way that they, of course we didn't see behind the scenes, but it seemed like there wasn't a lot of petulance or pettiness when it came to discarding certain ideas. It was just expected. I'm going to throw 48 different ideas out, and maybe 1 or 2 will get picked up on by the rest of the group, and then we'll move and continue thinning out the herd and coming up with something at the end. And I also really liked the way that he applied it to anything, where they just took an idea, learned about the function of what it is that they were going to be doing, and then beginning to break it and recreate it. And they didn't even necessarily have to be experts in any particular field, because the process that they created, which was the unique process, which really was the product, was their ability to create new products out of old products. I really just found that very interesting. The whole way that their makeup of the management was not just this top to bottom, even though they had a boss, and you never know what goes on behind the scenes, but it looked like he didn't have his little private office where he's lording over the minions. And the fact that even now you can see, because that was, I believe, about 20 years ago, how different it's become since then in bigger companies, and how they've utilized, or at least taken elements of ideas from startup companies like that. And now for takeaway 5, the lean startup. This one I really liked. It's because of how it applies so neatly to the modern day and age. I remember when in the project, in the experience, I was discussing how all the applications in your phone are just constantly updating. And every time you go in, it's changed a little bit. Just yesterday, my Facebook, I log in, oh, now it's all different, and now it's asking me to do new things, and the product has changed. And I like the idea of the minimum viability product, and that you can get people to come on board and take part in something that's still a work in progress, and they can use some of the limited functionality initially, and you begin to capture that market share, and the way that the companies will ping you when new things become available, because you're already on board. You're already there, and now you begin to expand it and then bring in new people by word of mouth. I mean, the whole thing just seems brilliant to me, the way that it's run, the way that it's done. And I also wanted to differentiate that minimally viable product from something that just flat out doesn't work. You know, it may still be a little bit buggy, or it may still have a lot of functionality that has yet to be put in, but it's a genuine product that they release. And also the way that they get the customer feedback. I like that it wasn't just a Bible. They weren't just blindly following all of the people's suggestions. Well, they say we need this, so we're going to do that. Like when they were talking about the program where they wanted the avatar to be able to walk, that's what the customer feedback was. So instead, because that would have been too expensive to develop with the graphics and the time, and they instead just made the person magically appear wherever the person clicked. And they liked it better. They didn't know they wanted the ability to do that, but they got it, and it was better than the ways they were thinking, because they were thinking linearly. The way that they were able to come up with solutions to get basically to the bottom of what the people wanted, rather than just giving them what they say they wanted. I really like that, being able to break down and come up with what they really mean, what they're really asking for with what they're telling you. I thought that was very clever. And now we have takeaway 6, the pre-mortem. Now, the pre-mortem I liked because it's a way to subvert the positivity of entrepreneurship, or even companies in general. Everything's just so positive. We're going to do it. We're going to win. We're going to do this. And we're going to, it's a rah-rah in the meetings, and even in the corporate structure. They're doing plays for the managers. They have to put on skits and dances and raps, and everything's about how much growth they're going to get and we're going to achieve, and there's inspirational quotes everywhere. And there's very little room for, should we be doing that? Is this going to work? What's the best way to do it? Are we going to fail? It seems like a way to push all that down, and the pre-mortem seems to be a way to bring that all back, but use it in a constructive way to really help head off problems that can come out. And I think that all of us could use a little bit more of that in our lives. Not even just from a business perspective. I like even the parallels, the ways that you can use these items in your everyday life. As I was doing in the Discovery Project when discussing my bankruptcy and all the different stuff that happened to me, if I'd had these skills, I may have been able to anticipate some of the things, or to change some of the things, or to take less debt. The ability to not just blindly charge in and know for a fact that you're going to make it, even though you can't possibly know that. I really took a pretty valuable lesson out of that particular subject. I think that the pre-mortem is probably one of the most valuable tools for somebody looking to get into business or running a business or coming up with a new idea. Having said that, we'll now move on to takeaway 7. This was another one that I really found a lot of value in. The equitable split based on time and financial investment, knowing who is contributing what to the new startup. Even recently, I've had a discussion with a friend who's going to be opening up a restaurant, a sushi restaurant. He's going to be moving back to his home state of Georgia to potentially open it. And he's going to be a 33% minority owner. And a lot of the lessons that I learned in this really seem to parallel with what this gentleman that he's going to be opening the business with, possibly, seems to know. He seems to know that there's a difference. You don't just open a business with 4 people, that's each person gets 25%, regardless of what they contribute or what they do. And so many people have that thinking that everything needs to be exactly equal, even though you're making it unequal by virtue of trying to make it equal. And that's a hard lesson for a lot of people to learn. And it's a hard lesson for some people to understand just because they don't realize that their contributions aren't equal to somebody else's in every regard. Somebody who's handling all the finances and the payments and keeping costs down. I think of the gentleman that was assisting Russ, Bud, I believe is what they called him, and how he essentially was the entire brain behind the actual operation of the business. He wasn't the idea guy, but he's the one who put the brakes when they needed to be braked. He's the one who guided all the finances and the money and knew where and when to put it there. And without him, I don't see how it could have worked. So, and obviously he's not the perfect example because he wasn't the owner, but if you have a business where him and Russ are 50-50, maybe that would work. But when you bring in some of the others, it just wouldn't have made sense for everybody to have an equal share. And I thought that was a really valuable lesson to learn for a lot of people. And it also helps you kind of look within yourself a little bit and understand, okay, maybe I'm not doing the same thing. Anyways, takeaway 8. Statistics that show which types of setups have the highest probability of success. I use statistics for everything, every choice I make in life. Where I live, where I work, everything I do, what's the best way to not get shot? And it's a common fear we all have here in America. And I loved the idea that you can look at, is a team-based concept, is a partnership more successful than a sole proprietorship? Is a sole proprietorship more or less successful than a venture-backed organization? And you can look and see which one's the best, and that can help steer you. Well, I want to go with the way that's the best. Maybe I should build a team and create this venture. I don't think a lot of people take that into consideration. If you're going into somewhere where there's only a 20% chance of success, you might be that 1/5, but you're probably not. And I don't think a lot of people think like that, and in a lot of portions of our lives, we really should. Now, takeaway 9. This is about the importance of an exit strategy and the different ways to achieve it. This one I really did find fascinating. I liked the idea that when you build it up, you can step down through the form of an IPO or management transfer, but still be there, still have influence, still take care of your baby. You don't just have to sell and end up sipping Mai Tais and being depressed and lonely. If that's what you want, you can do that, and maybe you would, but you don't have to. And I like the way it discussed the different options and the different levels of involvement you can maintain even when exiting. I liked the way it discussed when is the right time. Has the business exceeded your abilities? When is the right time to leave? I really took great fascination in your post that talked about your family's business and the strict structure behind it. I really think that that would be something useful in the future when you're trying to decide what the next step is after you've been successful. That's what I really liked about that particular lesson. Finally, takeaway 10, the evergreen methodology. This one kind of blew my mind a little bit because you never really hear about companies. I mean, you might read about a little biopsy or a little biography in a Life magazine or something about, oh, this new person's creating this thing, and they claim they're not doing it for money, and then inevitably they sell to a big company, and then it turned out to all be about the money. And that seems to be a more common thing that you see, but these people that they were talking about seem to really genuinely open a business that doesn't just have profit alone as its motive, and that they're looking for something more, and they're not planning to go public. And in the future, if I have enough money that I don't need the income that I have now, and I can do something more fulfilling, the idea that there are like-minded people out there somewhere is comforting, to say the least. And I certainly would love to do that, and it doesn't have to be political, because my mind always went, okay, if you want to do something fulfilling, you got to go into a charity organization or a political organization to fight for what you believe in. And now it looks like the options are a lot bigger than I anticipated, and I like that. I do also want to thank you for watching. I think I went a little bit over my 15-minute marker. I'll clear this with you before submittal. I really do thank you. This was a lot tougher than I ever anticipated, and it was worth it, and it was really good. And I don't think I've thought that much about what I want or how I plan to get there, or what I want to do in a long time. So again, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed my reflective project.